Hello there. Today I'm continuing my look at the fabulous wines from the Selbach-Oster estate in the Middle Mosel. So this is a Wehlener Sonnenuhr Riesling Spatlese from 2021. Now, Selbach-Oster, an incredibly well-respected, historic wine-producing house in Zeltingen, and the Selbach family have been vintners here probably for 400 years. Certainly records go back to 1661, describing them as vintners, and there are other commercial records of their wines being sold outside the area as well. So they were obviously well-established vintners. The proprietors of the estate today are Johannes and Barbara Selbach, and their son Sebastian is the winemaker here. One of the things that marks out Selbach-Oster is that the wonderful collection of fabulous vineyards that they own. And these vineyards are spread out along the beautiful slopes of the right bank of the Mosel between Zeltingen and Bernkastel. These are relatively steep slopes. The soils here are friable blue Devonian slate soils. Selbach-Oster grow predominantly Riesling. I think 98% of the vineyards are Riesling. They have a little bit of Pinot Blanc and a tiny bit of Gewürztraminer. But they are very fortunate to have a large proportion of very old vines, so that a lot of their Riesling is 100 years old or so. They have vineyards right along this hillside, starting in Zeltingen, going through to Wehelen, and in Graacher, and in Bernkastel, all along this beautiful south-facing slope. So here the soils, as I say, are blue Devonian slate. This is largely weathered slate, so it's very friable. The roots of the vine are able to delve deep into the soils. Now, Wehlener Sonnenuhr, this particular vineyard, has soils with quite a high proportion of medium to large slate boulders in the topsoils. The topsoil is weathered slate, and below that the subsoils tend to have a little more clay, and that marks out Wehlener Sonnenuhr from its neighbour Zeltinger Sonnenuhr, in that it makes a little bit more moisture available to the plant in the soils. These sort of pockets of clay supply water reservoirs that the vines can use during the summer, and that's why the older vines have been able to establish a root system that has gone right down to find these pockets of clay. Appropriately, Wehlener Sonnenuhr refers to the fact that the vineyard is opposite the town of Wehelen, and the Sonnenuhr refers to a sundial in the vineyards here. So this is a beautiful sunny site and tends to be one of the warmer sites along this stretch of the river. The fact that this is Spatlese means it's been late harvested, so you've got a certain richness and ripeness to the fruit. 2021, on the other hand, was a classic cool year for Riesling in the Mosel, and so I'm expecting some sort of lovely mineral nervosity to the acidity here that should leave the finish to this wine beautiful and fresh and long. Now, the approach to winemaking at Selbach-Oster is an almost non-intervention approach whatsoever. The grapes are selected very carefully at harvest. Fermentation will go on in 1,000-litre seasoned oak foeders. These are relatively large oval barrels that are old. They will be lined probably with tartrates. They'll give no oak influence to the wine, but there will be a very gentle ingress of oxygen via the staves of the barrel, and that tends to give a little bit of roundness to the wine's texture. Fermentation is done here entirely with the indigenous yeasts that are either in the winery at the beginning of fermentation or have come in from the vineyard on the fruit. Beyond the ambient temperature within the winery, there's no cooling equipment at Selbach-Oster. So the entire process is really quite natural. In fact, pretty much the contribution to the winemaking is the addition of sulfur dioxide at the end of the process. So let's have a look at the wine and see what we make of it. Firstly, it's a vibrant, pale yellow colour. It's not really got any greenish hints. Swirling it, the wine has 8% alcohol according to its label, so very little at all. It probably has some sweetness, but it's not particularly viscous. It's not sticking to the sides of the glass very noticeably. So let's see what we make of the aroma, shall we? The aromas are clean and limey. They're very well defined. There are top notes of lime blossom, that sort of thing. Below that, there are slight sort of gunpowder, gunflint notes, and that I think is complexity coming from the indigenous ferment. They're just very delicate notes though, but there is a minerality of that sort that runs through there. So let's have a taste and see what we make of it. On the palate, there is a lovely clean sweetness from the outset. And on that, there are sort of real sort of floral, almost elderflower notes. But this is one of the things about top quality German wines. The quality of the sweetness is exceptional. When you actually stop a ferment, rather than back blending sugar into a dry wine, you end up with this sweetness that is predominantly fructose. And it's a much more elegant and delicate form of sweetness. And it's just sort of allowing those beautiful perfumes to dance around on it as well. Again, there's a lovely clarity of liminess on the finish. The wine is light-bodied. The alcohol is not really noticeable at 8%, hardly surprising. And the finish ends up with sort of this well-defined lime fruit. There's notes of lime pith, and perhaps some touches of candied peel, and maybe those sort of slight touches of fermentation aromas, the sort of slight gunpowderiness, maybe expressing itself in more of a sort of a sherbety way. It's very clean, the finish is long and fresh. I mean, this is a really beautiful style of Mosel wine, but it seems to be delivering sort of more than you'd expect in terms of its complexity and its ripeness. It's still a very young wine, a wine that would easily age for 10 to 15 years, and highly possibly longer. I mean, it has a lovely mineral acidity and nervosity, and the sort of the mouth-watering nature, what I can feel on the side of my tongue, that acidity is just allowing the delicate perfumes, the sort of the floral blossom notes to show towards the finish as well. It's a delicate wine, but it has a lovely intensity that lasts really well. So thank you so much for joining us for this tasting. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, do please press the like button. If you'd like to watch more of these videos, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe to our channel. And that way you can set yourself a notification and we will alert you whenever we publish a new video. If you have any comments, please pop those in the comments box below. We would genuinely appreciate your feedback on the wines we're looking at, the tastings we're doing, or anything else that relates to that. If you have friends who you think might like to watch the video, please feel free to forward it to them. We'd be very grateful for that. I will leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, so that you can find out where it's available, what its price is, and you can use the tabs on that page to find out more of the background information about the wine, everything from its price history, what the critics think, any awards that it's won, and some of the background, how it's been produced, the region it comes from, its producer. So hopefully all the information you could possibly think you'd need about this wine. Thank you so much for joining us, and I do hope you'll manage to make some time. Come and join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.